Alright guys, so today if you're in standard pre-algebra, we're going to be working just on 6.1. If you're in honors, we're going to be working on 6.1 and 6.2. So we're going to be talking about ratios in 6.1. I know you guys have worked with ratios before. You worked with them last year. We're going to be writing ratios as fractions. We're going to be working with ratios that have mixed numbers and decimals, and we're going to do a little bit of converting units, which you guys also did last year. If you hear a bunch of noises, I'm sorry, it's my dog trying to play with me. She wants to play fetch. So when we look at ratios, we can write them three different ways. There's three ways that I will accept. You can write it as 7 to 3, so with the word 2. You can write it with a colon. We still read it as 2, 7 to 3. Or you can write it as a fraction. And again, we read that as 7 to 3. So all three of those ways, we would write it as 7 to 3. Or we would read it that way. Now, something that they mentioned down here, how do I know what number goes first or what number goes in the numerator and what goes in the denominator? We know that by how what number comes first and the problem that they give us. So in this one it says find the ratio of 5 to 12. 5 is written first, so it goes in the numerator. 12 is written second, so it goes in the denominator. What are two other ways that I could have written this ratio? I could have written it as 5 to 12. I also could have written it as 5 to 12 with the colon. So all of those are correct. If you need to pause this, you can do so. All right, in this problem, I'm not going to read the word problem out. The main thing that I want to talk about is this right here. 14 over 11. Do not change it to a mixed number. Do not. Because when we have ratios, we are comparing two numbers. If you give me this number right here and I say, what two numbers are we comparing? You're not going to be able to tell me. I need a number in the numerator and a number in the denominator. Just one number, like one whole number in each. Okay? So do not write it as a mixed number. Leave it improper. Ratios are comparing two numbers, so we have to have them improper. All right. And then another thing, the last thing that you need to keep in mind whenever we're talking about ratios is that they always need to be put in lowest terms. So just like when we were dealing with fractions and we put fractions in lowest terms, same for ratios. But you need to keep in mind, you have to write 3 over 1. You do need this one right here. You need the 1 in the denominator because, again, we're comparing two numbers. So if you just give me 3 as your answer, I don't know what two numbers you're comparing. You need a 1 in the denominator as well in this case. So make sure that you aren't just giving me the number 3. If it helps you to remember to write two numbers, you can write it in this form or you can write it in this form, unless it specifically says write your answer as a fraction. So like this one said to write it as a fraction, so you would need to write it as a fraction, but on other ones it won't always ask you to do that. Okay. If you think you want to try one on your own, you can pause this and try it on your own. I would suggest trying it on your own instead of just watching the video. So go ahead and pause it here and then check your answer with mine. It says write the ratio of 50 ounces of medicine to 120 ounces of medicine. So in my numerator, I'm going to put 50. And how did I know that? I knew it because it was the first number that they mentioned. That means 120 has to be in the denominator. And it says write it as a fraction, so I have to do it as a fraction. Now, if you remember from last semester, we talked about an easy way to simplify this fraction. If both numbers are ending in a 0, we can divide it by 10. When I divide by 10, all I'm doing is taking those zeros off. That will give me, sorry, that was about 5. That would give me 5/12. Okay? Now, be careful, because if you had this number, you cannot cross off the zeros. You can only cross them off if they both end in a 0. Okay, so 5/12 would be my answer. That doesn't go down in lowest terms anymore. All right, I'm going to clear this and move on. Okay, it says the price, this one is a little bit tricky, so make sure you pay attention to this one, just because the way it's worded, some people don't understand or they misunderstand what it's asking. The price of a Sunday newspaper increased from $1.50 to $1.75. Find the ratio of the increase in price to the original price. The increase in price right here, that's asking how much money did the paper go up by? How much did the cost go up by from $1.50 to $1.75? And I know the cost went up by 25 cents. So that's my numerator. Then what is the original price? The original price is $1.50. Now, I cannot leave ratios as fraction or with fractions in them. I have to only have two whole number, or I have to have a whole number in the numerator and a whole number in the denominator. These are not whole numbers, so I can't do this. So, what do you think I'm going to do to get rid of the decimals? I could either multiply by 100, or we know that multiplying by 100 is the same as moving them forward twice. So I now have 25 over 150. And think about what you can divide both of these numbers by. And you can divide both numbers by 25 to get 1/6. And that is already in lowest terms, so I don't need to keep going. I have a whole number in the numerator, a whole number in the denominator, so I am, and it's in its simplest form, so I am done. If you need to pause it, then pause it. All right, now I'm going to be dealing with a mixed number in my ratio. So it says write the ratio of 2 days to 2 1/4 days as a ratio of two whole numbers in lowest terms. That just means it wants a whole number in the numerator and a whole number in the denominator in lowest terms, which is what we've been doing. So what does this look like to you guys right now? We dealt with it in the first semester. It's a type of fraction. It starts with a C. This is a complex fraction. So when we had complex fractions, I couldn't leave the mixed number in there. What did I have to do with that mixed number? Right, I needed to change the mixed number to an improper fraction by doing Texas. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So I have 2 over 9/4. Now I know with the complex fraction, this sign right here just means division. Okay, so now I have technically 2 over 1 divided by 9/4. And when I have division with fractions, what do I have to do? I have to do keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. I can't cross cancel anything, so I'm just going to multiply across. 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 times 9 is 9. And that is already in its lowest terms. Now be careful whenever you're doing keep, change, flip. Make sure you're writing in the correct order, that 2 over 1 goes first and 9/4 goes second. Otherwise, it's going to give you the wrong answer if you flip the wrong one. I know I'm moving kind of fast. But you guys can pause it, go back, ask your classmates a question if you don't understand. Okay, I want you guys to try this one on your own, so please pause it. It's basically the same thing we did last time. It's just the only difference now is there's also a mixed number in the numerator. Okay, hopefully you paused it. And let's check our answers. So, in my numerator, I have 3 1/4. And in my denominator, I have 1 1/2. Okay, now I need to change these to improper fractions. So I'm going to do Texas. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13, and I keep the same denominator. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3, and I keep the same denominator. Again, I have another complex fraction. When I have complex fractions, I know it's just asking me to divide them. And when I have division with fractions, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to do keep, change, flip. Now, I can cross cancel on this one. If you don't like to cross cancel, that's fine. You don't have to cross cancel. I'm going to cross cancel. So, I know both 2 and 4 can be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 13 times 1 is 13. And 2 times 3 is 6. Do not change this to a mixed number. Some of you are going to want to change this to a mixed number. Don't. Leave it improper. It cannot be a mixed number. Remember, why can't it be a mixed number? It can't be a mixed number because I need to compare two numbers. A mixed number will not give me a comparison of two numbers, but an improper fraction will. So leave it improper. All right. It wants us to write the ratio of the length of the shorter board on the left to the length of the longer board on the right. And it says compare in inches. So what's the issue that I have with this problem that it's giving me right now? So it's giving me 1 in feet and 1 in inches. So that's a pretty big problem because it's asking me to compare in inches. What do you think I'm going to do? This one's already in inches, so that's good. But what do you think I'm going to do with this 2 feet to change that one to inches? Now, if you don't remember some of your conversions, if you keep scrolling, there is a conversion chart right here. You don't have to write this down. These notes are on the modules on Canvas. So this slide right here, slide 14, does have the conversions if you need to remember them. So we're looking at inches and feet right now. There's 12 inches in 1 foot. That's going to be important. So how do I change feet to inches? Well, we know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 12. And that gives me 24. So I know 2 feet is equal to 24 inches. Now it asks for me to compare the board on the left, which is 24 inches, to the board on the right, which is 30 inches. Can I stop here? No, I cannot stop here. I need to put it in lowest terms. Both of these can be divided by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4, and 30 divided by 6 is 5. So 4/5 would be your final answer. All right, let's look at the next problem. Again, this is on the conversion chart, but we should know this one. It says write the ratio of 28 days to 3 weeks. So I need to compare these two numbers, but the problem is they're not in the same unit. When I have ratios and I'm comparing two numbers, they have to be in the same unit. So if you look at this little note right here, it says, notice in the example previously that we wrote a ratio using the smaller unit. Using the smaller unit will help you avoid working with fractions or decimals. So what that's saying is if we change the bigger unit, which is in this case weeks, to the smaller unit, which is days, then we're not going to have to deal with complex fractions or decimals within those fractions. So I'm going to change weeks to days. We know that there are how many days in a week? There are 7 days in a week. So I'm going to do 7 times 3, which is 21. And it wants me to compare 28 days to 21 days. And can that be simplified or put into lowest terms, I mean? It can be. I can divide both of them by 7. And that gives me 4/3. Again, why should we not put this as a mixed number? Because it wouldn't be a comparison of two numbers, right? Okay. We have just 2 more problems in 6.1. A town has 6 flower shops. Their 1-year sales figures are compared in the chart. Find the sales at flowers of distinction. Quit, Lila. Sorry, my dog's trying to play fetch. Stop. Find the ratio of sales at flowers of distinctions to those at gorilla flowers. So I'm looking down here at flowers of distinction, and it said they sell $650,000 worth of flowers in a year, and gorilla flowers sold $910,000 in a year. We know our trick with zeros. I can just cross them all off if they're on the end, and I'm left with 65 over 91. This one's kind of tricky. It can be simplified. I can divide them both by 13. And when I divide them both by 13, I get 5/7. Again, pause it if you need to. I'm going to clear it and move on. All right, last one in 6.1. It says the bar graph shows worldwide sales of the most popular songs of all time. Sales of song A in which song form a ratio of 19/5. So I'm kind of going to have to work backwards on this. If you want a challenge, pause it and try it yourself. If not, we can work it together if you're really confused. So I know song A and another song form the simplified ratio of 19/5. Okay. So I know 19 goes with A because that is the first one they mentioned in both of the information that they gave me. All right, what was song A originally, though? If I look at song A, before it was put in its lowest terms, it was 38. Okay, now I have a little bit more information. I can figure some more things out. How did I get from 38 to 19? This is a 1. I divided by 2. Good. So now I have to think, what number would be right here? And I divide it by 2, and it gives me 5. Well, if you look at our chart, the only number that could do that is 10. So this question mark right here is now going to be, we know that it's song E. So song A and song E form this simplified ratio. All right. If you are in standard, that's the end of the lesson. Make sure you do your homework on My Math Lab. There are 9 questions. Please behave and complete it. And if you get done early, then you need to work silently on something else. All right, honors.